What if you could erase the guilt without erasing the crime? At 2:17 a.m., Adrian Vale's phone vibrated on the nightstand. He opened his eyes in the darkness. For several seconds, he remained perfectly still, listening to the rain strike the windows and trying to understand what had awakened him. The phone vibrated again. Adrian reached for it. There was a new message. The sender was Claire. His entire body went rigid. Claire, his wife, had been dead for 311 days. Adrian opened the message. "You didn't try to save me." He stared at those 6 words. Then he checked the timestamp. The message had been sent at that exact moment, 2:17 a.m. Adrian quickly sat up and switched on the bedside lamp. The bedroom looked exactly as it always did. Clothes folded over the chair, Claire's books still lined across the shelves, the empty side of the bed he had been unable to touch since the funeral. He typed a response. "Who is this?" The message was delivered. No reply came. Adrian called the number. An automated voice informed him that the line had been disconnected. Claire's number had been canceled 10 months earlier. He searched through the phone's settings, looking for signs that it had been hacked. Adrian was not a telecommunications expert, but he understood systems. For 15 years, he had led the neurotechnology division at Mnemosyne Labs. His specialty was human memory, more specifically, the possibility of erasing it. The phone vibrated again. "What you're looking for is in the freezer." Adrian remained motionless. He looked toward the bedroom door. The house was silent. He took a baseball bat from the closet and walked downstairs. He turned on every light along the way. The kitchen was empty. Adrian opened the freezer. Inside were frozen meals, a bottle of vodka, and an ice tray. Nothing else. He began removing everything. Behind the bottom drawer, he found a small compartment secured with tape. Inside was a memory card. Adrian nearly dropped it. Claire used to hide things in the freezer. Keys, documents, birthday presents. She always said burglars searched safes, not bags of frozen peas. He carried the card into his office and inserted it into the computer. There was only one file, an 11-second video. The footage had been recorded by the dashboard camera in Adrian's car. Rain covered the windshield. Claire was sitting in the passenger seat. Her voice trembled. "Adrian, slow down." He appeared behind the wheel, staring straight ahead. Claire pulled at her seatbelt. "Please, don't do this." Adrian reached toward the camera. Before the image disappeared, he said, "You should have kept quiet." The video ended. Adrian moved away from the screen. The crash had happened on a mountain road during a severe storm. The car had broken through the guardrail and fallen into a ravine. Claire died on impact. Adrian survived with a concussion, 3 broken ribs, and no memory of the 20 minutes before the crash. The police concluded that he had lost control of the vehicle. Adrian watched the video again, then a 3rd time. The voice was his. The face was his. But it could not be real. Someone had manufactured the footage. Someone wanted him to believe that he had killed his own wife. His phone vibrated. "You said that before." Adrian turned around as though he might find someone standing behind him. He typed, "What do you want?" The response came immediately. "For you to reach the end this time." The office light flickered. For an instant, Adrian saw his reflection in the window. Pale, unshaven, the baseball bat still clenched in his hand. He looked like a stranger who had broken into his house. The next message contained only 2 words: Protocol 7. Adrian knew that name. It referred to an experimental procedure developed by Mnemosyne Labs and officially abandoned after animal trials. Protocol 7 did not erase every memory. It destroyed only the emotional and episodic connections associated with a specific event. The patient retained the general facts. They knew that something had happened, but they could no longer recall the images, sounds, intentions, or emotions connected to it. It was like discovering an empty space inside your own life. Adrian had argued that the procedure could free victims from extreme trauma. Claire had argued that it could free criminals from remorse. Their disagreement over the project had nearly destroyed their marriage. As far as Adrian remembered, Protocol 7 had never been tested on a human being. He accessed Mnemosyne's internal system. His credentials still worked. He searched for the protocol. No results. Then he typed his own initials, AV. A hidden folder appeared. It was password protected. Adrian tried Claire's birthday. Access denied. He tried their wedding date. Access denied. The phone vibrated. The password is the time I died. Adrian closed his eyes. The accident report listed Claire's time of death as 11:41 p.m. He entered 23:41. The folder opened. It contained medical reports, neural scans, and photographs of Adrian lying in a clinical chair. At the top of the screen was an identification record. Subject: Adrian Vale. Procedure: Protocol 7, cycle number 06. Adrian felt the air leave his lungs. 6 cycles. He had used the procedure on himself 6 times. He opened the most recent file. A recording began. On the screen, Adrian was sitting in that same office. He looked thinner. There was dried blood on his lower lip. He stared directly into the camera. My name is Adrian Vale. If I'm watching this, it means I erased everything again. The Adrian sitting in front of the computer covered his mouth. The recorded version continued. Claire discovered that the human trials for Protocol 7 had never stopped. I was using patients without authorization. People with depression, war veterans, victims of violence. I told myself I was treating their trauma. He took a slow breath. One of the patients killed himself. Claire found the falsified reports. She said she was going to expose everything to the press and the police. Fragments flashed through Adrian's mind. Claire holding documents, a suitcase on the bed, a door slamming. The images vanished before he could grasp them. On the recording, the other Adrian closed his eyes. On the night of the crash, I asked her to get into the car. I told her we could talk. When we reached the mountain road, she realized I wasn't taking her home. The rain outside seemed to grow louder. I accelerated. Claire begged me to stop. We came to a curve. I had time to brake. The recorded man's voice broke. I chose not to. Adrian paused the video. Nausea rose in his throat. He opened the desk drawer, searching for anything that might prove the recording was false.
Inside, he found a small blue vial and a sealed syringe. The label read, P7, Emergency Reconsolidation. Beside it was a handwritten note. The handwriting was his. When the truth becomes unbearable, use the vial. In 20 minutes, Claire will go back to being nothing more than the victim of an accident. Adrian stepped away. The phone began to ring. This time, it was not a message. The caller ID showed an unknown number. He answered. Adrian? A woman spoke from the other end. Who is this? Detective Lena Ortiz. Adrian recognized the name. She had investigated the crash. I need to speak with you. A brief silence followed. Did you find the video? Adrian looked at the computer. How do you know about that? Because you always call me after you find it. Always? The detective exhaled slowly. This is the 7th time, Adrian. He pressed the phone against his ear. That's impossible. Over the last 8 months, you contacted me 6 times. Each time, you said you had discovered something about Claire's death. I asked you to come to the station. You agreed. Then why was I never arrested? Because you never showed up. Rain hammered against the roof. A few hours later, you would claim you had no memory of the conversation. Your tests showed no ordinary drugs. Without the original video, without the laboratory files, and without a formal confession, we couldn't prove the crash was intentional. Adrian looked at the vial. I erased my memory. Yes. Why didn't you stop me? We tried. Your lawyers claimed the calls were caused by neurological damage from the crash. You're a respected scientist with powerful attorneys and access to a technology no one is willing to admit exists. She paused. But someone kept leaving clues for you. Adrian looked at Claire's message. I thought it was me. We don't know who's sending them. The computer clock read 3:08 a.m. A new message appeared. In 3 minutes, you will choose to forget. Adrian gripped the blue vial. The thought of injecting the substance into his body filled him with terror and relief. Within minutes, the video would stop meaning anything. Claire would become the wife he had loved. He would become the grieving husband who had survived by chance. A man destroyed by tragedy, not the man who had caused it. Adrian, Detective Ortiz said, put the vial down. I can't live knowing this. Claire didn't get a choice. The clock changed to 3:09. Adrian imagined the impact, the rain, the metal folding around them. Claire realizing in the final seconds of her life that the man sitting beside her would rather kill her than face the truth. He raised the vial. The phone vibrated in his other hand. You didn't create these messages. Adrian froze. Another message arrived. I did. A new file appeared on the computer. This time, Claire appeared on the screen. She was sitting inside one of Namazani's laboratories. She looked exhausted. A small bruise darkened the skin near her left eye. Adrian, if you're watching this, I'm dead.
He moved closer to the screen. You probably believed the crash was the first time you used Protocol 7 on yourself. Claire slowly shook her head. It wasn't. Behind her, several monitors displayed medical records. You erased 2 violent arguments. You erased the night you locked me inside the laboratory. You erased the moment you shoved me against a wall. Adrian pressed his fingers against his forehead. There was nothing. The next day, you always became kind again, confused. You would apologize for something you couldn't remember. Claire's eyes filled with tears. And I made the mistake of believing that a man without a memory was also a man without guilt. She continued, I programmed this system to begin sending messages if my death certificate was ever registered. You can erase your memory as many times as you want. The process will begin again. The clock changed to 3:10. There is only one way to end the cycle, Claire said. Confess. Send the complete Protocol 7 records and the original video to the police. When the system confirms the transmission, the messages will stop. She leaned closer to the camera. The question was never whether you would remember killing me. Her voice softened. The question was what you would do when you found out. The recording ended. Adrian stared at the blue vial between his fingers. The clock changed to 3:11, the exact time when, on 6 previous occasions, he had chosen to forget. Adrian closed his eyes. Then he hurled the vial against the wall. The glass shattered. Blue liquid ran down the wall and formed a small pool on the floor. He returned to the computer and attached the laboratory records, the dashboard footage, and the results of the illegal human trials. Then he turned on the camera. My name is Adrian Vale. His voice trembled. I caused the death of Claire Vale. Afterward, I used an experimental technology to erase my involvement in the crime. For 12 minutes, he described everything he had discovered. He did not try to justify himself. He did not claim that he was no longer the same man. When he finished, he sent the files to Detective Ortiz, the district attorney's office, and 3 major news organizations. A confirmation appeared on the screen. Files received. A few seconds later, sirens sounded in the distance. Adrian remained seated, watching red and blue lights reflect against the rain. His phone vibrated one final time. A message from Claire. This time, you reached the end. The police entered the house at 3:26 a.m. Adrian did not resist. As they led him outside, he looked back at the bedroom window, where he had awakened believing he was an innocent man. Perhaps he would still remember everything the next morning. Perhaps the procedure had already caused permanent damage, and parts of that night would eventually disappear forever. It no longer mattered. For 311 days, interrupted only by brief moments of truth he had deliberately destroyed, Adrian had believed that the worst punishment imaginable would be remembering the man he had been. Claire knew he was wrong. The worst punishment was being given the opportunity to become that man again, and choosing it every single time.